Working from home means every day is bringing your kid to work day. And if you don't have the right tools and mindset to balance work and family responsibilities, you may end up throwing in the towel. Black Moth Radio gives you the upper hand in starting and managing your ideal lifestyle while creating your own business, doing what you do best, and doing it from home. So, grab the nearest ink pen and prepare to take notes, because this show is packed with discoveries, tips, and experiences to help you through your journey. Let's begin with our host, Robin Bull.
I answer questions from people who want to be a freelance writer or say things like, I want to be a professional writer. I generally don't answer questions based on writing novels for a living, because that process is different. If you want to work with a traditional publishing company, sometimes even some of the smaller ones, they won't even talk to you unless you have an agent. Whereas when you're freelance writing, you still may ghostwrite somebody's novel for them, but you're going to have more opportunity to get your work out there either under someone else's name or under your own. So I get into those groups and like I said, I try to give perspective or answer questions that are posed by college students who are writing an essay. I'll try to answer questions from people, like I said, who want to write for a living. And I see those questions probably about once every 2 weeks. And usually those people are either looking for advice or consolation. Sometimes they want encouragement because they're feeling like they can't make it happen. Inevitably, all the assholes come out of the woodwork and tell them that writing for a living is impossible. They need to get a real job, things like that. Oh, and there's always at least one holier-than-thou writer who doth not wish to profit for their work, because they believe writing is done out of nothing but pure joy. I tried to pay my electric bill once with joy, and the electric company, by the way, was not amused and still wanted their $150. So, it's one thing to talk about the cold hard truth about freelancing, which is what I plan to do, but it's another thing altogether to shit all over someone's dreams, especially when the dream that they have is achievable. So, over the last few weeks, I've been subjected to some comments that I laughed at. I'm sure people who read confessionsfromthecouch.com faithfully, all 1,630 of you, will remember the post where I was told not too long ago that I wasn't a real writer. And a couple of weeks ago, well, I guess it's been about a month actually, I was honored by Upwork when they featured me on their social media profiles as a freelancer who knows how to make shit happen, basically. And since I brought that up, allow me to remind you that what you're hearing here and what you read on confessionsfromthecouch.com is nothing more than my opinion. It is not affiliated with Upwork or any of their employees. Again, my opinion only, nobody else's. So, about a week and a half ago, I watched a ton of unsuccessful assholes shit on some poor guy's dream of writing for a living. And I responded to a few of those people. One lady told me that I lucked into my job and that she had a real job. If you're going to be hateful in a writer's group because you failed at something, why are you even there? Especially if the group name says something like help. So now, without further fanfare, here's the cold hard truth about freelancing or any other small business. Freelancing and small business isn't for everyone. If you don't succeed, that doesn't necessarily make you a failure. Consider this. My paternal grandmother wanted me to be a nurse. Then she wanted me to be a physical therapist, and then an occupational therapist, and a respiratory therapist. Basically, she wanted me to work in the health field. I was offered a full ride scholarship at the end of my junior year in high school. Spoiler alert, I dropped out my senior year because of stress. I turned it down, although I was considered for another scholarship for petroleum engineering. It was also a full ride. Why did I turn the scholarships down? I mean, college is expensive. I know. I eventually went. Who wouldn't want to go to school for free, right? Well, the thing was, I knew that nursing wasn't for me. Nothing in the health field was for me. Nursing, though, it's a great field. Health is a great field. It's just that I would have been fucking first class miserable. I'm way too introverted to be around people all the time. Even if I would have finished school and gotten into the field, I would have done all right, but eventually I would have quit. That doesn't mean that I would have failed. It just means that that shit was not and is not for me. We were at the hospital visiting my mother's husband not long ago, and I told the nurse that, you know, she was a fucking superhero for what she did, because I could not deal with a lot of the crap that they put up with all the time. So, freelancing, certain types of business, not for everyone, plain and simple. Remember that when people shit on your dreams, it's because they're miserable little hacks who couldn't make it happen for themselves. Well, you know, I certainly don't beat around the bush. I'm probably one of the most straightforward people you will ever meet, in person or online. I freelanced full-time since 2014. Before that, I did it part-time while I taught college. Yes, really. Clearly, I have a family. I have my 3 sons. I have my husband. I have these 3 dogs, one of which is chewing on something on the other side of the room. And she probably shouldn't be. Or she's licking the floor. I can't tell. And we take care of my mother, who has dementia, and her husband, who is legally blind and has diabetes. Those 2 things are not related, by the way. So, one of my sons is grown, one is almost grown, and the other is nowhere grown and is diagnosed onto the autism spectrum. Do you know why most people can't make it as a freelancer or a business owner? It's because they find excuses for themselves. Since they couldn't make it, they need other people to fail because it makes them feel better. And there's no such thing, you know, trying to find the best way to say this without running into my next point. There's no reason to fail if you really want to make it happen. And if you fail, it's nobody's fault but yours. So, matter of fact, I said that yesterday during an Upwork chat to someone who tried to attack Upwork and say that the company suspended their profile for no reason, and that's not true. So, next point, success has absolutely nothing to do with luck. I am not a trust fund baby. I'd venture a guess that most freelance writers aren't trust fund babies. Are there some successful business owners who started out in life with a silver spoon in their mouth with family money? Yep. Donald Trump is one of them, and don't get your panties in a knot. It's just an observation. It's not a judgment. Remember Paris Hilton and her shenanigans? She eventually grew up, went on to launch her own business. She became successful in her own right. But for those of us who live in the real world, we know there's no such thing as luck. We make our own luck by setting priorities and making shit happen. We work our asses off. Don't quit your day job at first. When you're first starting out, it can be close to impossible to predict your income. Food, electricity, water, keeping a roof over your head, all of that's important to your survival. I started my freelance writing business when I taught college and I worked at a law firm part-time. So I guess you could say I had 3 jobs and I had my children, and of course I was married. So it's a lot of work. But don't quit your day job because you have people depending on you. And there is a theory out there that, you know, you really want to succeed, burn the boat. And that's great, except you have to make sure you get people fed. So if you already have a day job, if you already have a day job, keep your day job until you're actually losing money from turning people away. You must be able to meet deadlines. When you're self-employed, your clients come first, period. Do not procrastinate. Otherwise, you're going to find yourself up to your eyeballs in scary bullshit. You have to learn how to manage your time. No excuses. And don't try to convince yourself that your excuse is actually a good reason. Clients don't give a shit. They want their project finished. If you can't do it, they will find someone else. God knows they have plenty of other choices. There are very few acceptable reasons to fall short of what your clients need. You better be realistic. Everyone loves a good underdog story. We've all heard the rejection stories about J.K. Rowling and Stephen King, and there's certainly an important lesson to be picked up on there. It's something I've said on this podcast and when I've done lectures related to writing. Rejection does not equal failure. It just means what you have right now isn't a good fit for the other person at this time. That's all it means. So if you want to get paid to write, you have to focus on areas where the work is plentiful. Make sure you're in touch with reality. Unless you have some stellar credentials from previous traditional or non-traditional work, don't expect to make 6 figures your first year. Be realistic about what you need to make, and then be willing to accept the work that gets you paid. This doesn't mean you write some shit you'd rather not, at least not all the time. You could have to do that quite a bit in the beginning. I've worked on projects before that made me want to drink a bleach smoothie. But I just went on and did it to the best of my ability. I got paid. I moved on. Now I love almost every single project that crosses my path, except IT writing. I refuse to do any more of that ever again. It's important to set boundaries when you figure out what you don't like or what you're not good at. Finally, don't surround yourself with assholes. Find your people. There are several of us on Twitter that will answer questions. We won't do your work for you. We won't pander to you. We will not give you the work that we have. You have to go out there and do that yourself. But one thing you can do to make that easier is to surround yourself with the right type of people. And, that kind of brings me to another point that I was going to talk about separately, but now is just as good of a time as ever. Since I was featured by Upwork, I've gotten a lot of requests from freelancers and people who want to be freelancers and they haven't been able to get their first clients to help them with their profiles on Upwork. And my method is a little bit different. I don't write anybody's profile for them. I will not set the rates for them. I will talk to them about their goals. I will review their profile, and I will explain to them how mine is put together so that they can go back and tackle theirs. So I've been doing that for a couple of weeks. I have one profile left because I was going to do it last weekend. Then when we found out how bad things were for my stepfather in the hospital, things got crazy. So what we're going to talk about is some things that I learned. And the reason why I was going to offer these reviews is because I was going to give people free advice, how they could improve their profiles. I didn't get that sort of help starting out. I had to learn by trial and error, and I've worked with enough clients over the last 4 years that I know what they want to see and I know that what they don't want to see on a profile. So here's what I've learned over the handful of critiques that I've done. Most people who want to freelance think that clients should just give them money. Out of the 5 profiles I've worked on for people, 2 of them took the process seriously. One is a web developer, the other is a health and wellness writer. And yes, even writers occasionally need help and feedback to improve what they're wanting to convey. The web developer made some relatively minor changes based on my advice, and the following day he had 4 invitations to interview. On Upwork, that's a big deal because invitations to interview mean people are interested in you, and so you don't have to spend application credits to talk to them. The content writer is still tweaking and making changes because we basically deconstructed and reconstructed his entire profile. And of course, he's made great strides there. So I know that they both read the blog where I've already talked about this. And so I'll say it here too on the podcast because the podcast feeds straight to Facebook. Guys, this is not directed at either of you. So I've noticed a disturbing thought pattern among freelancers who have little or no experience. They think that they should just be able to slap in their name a poorly put together synopsis of what they do and a price, and lo and behold, clients on Upwork are just going to throw money at them. And that is a bad attitude to take. I explain to each freelancer exactly what my profile says to potential clients. If you want people to pay you, you must establish yourself as an expert and build that trust. It's true for freelancers too. People aren't just going to throw money at a poorly worded profile, even if you're not a writer. They're just not. You have to design your profile around the needs of your potential client. The other thing I learned, that people seem to think there's some kind of shortcut, and I actually knew that before I started doing profile reviews, but it was overly apparent there. All 5 of the people I worked with over the last week are not in the United States. So we've done most of our chatting through email and Messenger. The same 2 I mentioned earlier realized what I was telling them was to improve their profile, and doing that is fast and it's easy. It's an easy fix. tweaking it to perfection, that can take a little bit of time. I received one specific comment that irritated the hell out of me, and it's similar to the comments that people left on the post Upwork had on Facebook that featured me, and it basically boils down to, I don't want to do all that. Isn't there a shortcut that'll make me swim in clients and money? And the answer is no. Even if a shortcut existed, people with that mindset shouldn't use it. Why not? Because those people are the people that will A, take shortcuts on their project, B, think they know better than the client, C, will refuse to take direction from the client, and D, will get angry when the client leaves bad feedback and gets help from a different freelancer. There is no shortcut to building your freelance business. If you are fortunate enough to have a big network of people who've seen your talent firsthand in some way, you could find it easier to get clients, but that doesn't mean they'll stay or that it will be enough to support your business long term. The next thing I learned, and this was reinforced yesterday from Upwork's Twitter chat, people think Upwork owes them something for using their platform, and it's something we need to get straight. Upwork doesn't owe you, me, or any other freelancer a damn thing. Upwork is not perfect. No platform is perfect. If you don't educate yourself on how to use it, that's not their fault. That's your fault. You're stuck in an employee mindset and you want someone to hold your hand and supervise you, and that's not how freelancing works. If you cannot or will not take the time to figure it out, freelancing is not for you. I've been on Upwork since it was Odesk. I was also on Elance. I've always preferred Odesk to Elance. I was really, really excited when I found out that Odesk was acquiring Elance. And like I said, I didn't really like Elance anyway. Anytime I've needed a question answered or needed help with some sort of dispute, Upwork has been nothing short of kind and professional. A lot of the comments I see online about Upwork are sad because I'm fairly sure those people went about contacting Upwork with the wrong attitude, or they think they're owed something. Upwork doesn't owe you clients. They don't have to feature you just because you believe that you're the best fucking writer or web developer ever and because your mom likes your work. If you don't have the communication skills, patience, and other necessary skills to start your business, that's not their fault. That's your fault. That is something you can fix. As a friend of mine who's also a freelance writer says, you can learn the skills required to be a good freelancer. That doesn't mean that freelancing is going to be your dream job. So, this I put on the blog post that contained all of this information. It was a too long, didn't read, because I know that people are lazy. If you don't read an entire post that you think can somehow help you improve, your lack of desire to learn is why you're struggling. So, once again, for the people in the back, there is no shortcut. Do the work. Take advantage of the knowledge of others, or stop complaining. No one owes you anything. That's all I have for you guys today. Don't forget to go over to confessionsfromthecouch.com and join the 1,630 other subscribers. You can find me on Facebook and Twitter, both at The Robin Bull. If you have any questions, comments, concerns, or hate mail, I'm always down for that. Just understand that if you have hate mail, I will likely embarrass you with it. So, go out there, get your day started, and make working from home work for you. Thanks for listening. Hopefully, you're walking away from this podcast with a plan to implement the tips you've heard, a great attitude, and you subscribe to Black Moth Radio to ensure that you never miss any of the goods. Whether you're a hopeful work-from-home freelancer or you're well settled into your work-from-home lifestyle, we hope you've learned something that you can use. If you're ready to more about the work-from-home lifestyle, check out sellfy.com/robinbull. Questions, comments? Let Robin know by going to facebook.com/therobinbull or confessionsfromthecouch.com. Thanks for listening. Join us next time and keep learning.